So, are you a goat or are you a middle-aged man with a lawnmower? I like to think of myself as a goat. So rather than going straight through and knocking everything down, I'm taking out selected bits one at a time. And you get this lovely structure to the habitat, which creates patches of low grass, which the butterflies love, and then patches of taller grass, which is where they shelter. This is the other way of doing things, which is, you know, the middle-aged man with a lawnmower approach. And it does have some benefits. You can see here that you've got a lovely patch of white clover. But the thing about that kind of habitat is that you have to be really on it. I'm constantly mowing that patch in order to make sure that the clover is thriving throughout the year. And you can't necessarily do that when you've got the amount of land that I do and a lot of people do when they have rewilding projects. You know, when you've got 3.5 acres, it's much harder to do that approach for every square inch of it unless you've got something like a tractor. And obviously if you start mowing it like that, you end up getting a lower quality habitat because you're flattening the grass at the same time as you're mowing it. You don't mean flattening the grass, Chris, you mean flattening the soil underneath the grass. Come in with a strimmer like I do, then, well, a brush cutter, it becomes much higher quality. Sometimes you don't actually need to do that, and this is an area which has been repeatedly trodden on, and you can actually see there's quite a lot of clover in this patch here. Oh, that's my nose. But yeah, loads and loads of clover. You've just got constant disturbance from people walking around, which is essentially similar to what you get in nature with areas which have got high traffic between trees or at the edge of a watering hole. So you might find it a little bit strange that I am talking about goats, given that, you know, this is rewilding and goats aren't actually a native species in the UK, but we do have goats that graze the land from my next door neighbour, and occasionally they pop in just to invite themselves in and have a bit of a wander around and create all of this lovely habitat for diversity, which you can see around me here. It's actually quite hard to pick up on camera, but just looking around here, there is actually quite an incredible amount of butterflies feeding on the fleabane, the thistles, the knapweed, all of these kind of plants, which are really encouraged by the very infrequent activity of the goats when they come in. The thing in Britain is that we have an awful lot of places which are mowed by middle-aged men, and, you know, no shade on middle-aged men, but some of the effects of that have not been necessarily all that positive. Whereas actually, when you leave grassland to go a little bit wilder, you do cut it about once a year in order to make sure that you still get that plant diversity. And you do end up with this kind of lovely little patch, which has got lots of wildflowers in it, lots of butterflies, lots of bees. So should you be a goat or should you be a middle-aged man with a lawnmower? I mean, the beautiful thing is, if we have both, we've got two different types of habitat. If you have two different types of habitat next to each other, you've got habitat diversity, and habitat diversity is what creates diversity of species.